Is it okay? It is recording. All right, Magic Makers. I want to welcome Julie Tran to the show. And one of the main reasons why I wanted to have her on the show is that there's this concept out here called gray divorce. Have you guys heard of it? And basically, what I'm seeing, and maybe what you might be seeing or heard, is that about 40% of women over 50 who are getting divorced, they're the ones initiating it. And it's not because they got married too quickly and they barely knew each other and well, live and learn. Many of the couples have been married for decades. They've raised kids, they've built homes, they've created a life together. And then all of a sudden, it feels like your marriage is getting suddenly worse. And these women, are they reaching midlife because they feel lonely, unheard, or just felt like emotionally disconnected from their marriage? And so that's why I brought Julie Tran onto the show because she really talks about like how do you like really get engaged into your relationship. We were just talking off camera. We're talking about, how we always say the grass is always greener, but then she brought it back to me. It's like, well, the grass is only greener if you water it. And if you're both standing there with a hose and no one turns the water on, like how can you expect your grass to grow? So Julie believes that a woman can change the dynamic of her marriage without waiting for the husband to do the work or having that awkward conversation. Let's talk about our relationship. So Julie, welcome to the show.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
So I brought you in because, it started with, I heard the statistic about gray divorce. And I was kind of like, wow, like you think that, once you hit into like your 50s, you've been like married, multiple decades, you pretty much, have a good relationship. So like, is it because like marriages are getting worse or are marriages like people just like sick of like just tolerating stuff and just swallowing down the things they've just kind of put up with for years?
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I think it's a combination of both of those things. But yeah, before I dive into that, if I may, I'd love to introduce myself so your
Hmm.
audience knows where I'm coming from and who I am. I'm a marriage coach and mentor. I help women have build the confidence to turn conflict into connection and into gooey, yummy, heart melting love. My mission is to help women turn their marriage into a fucking, can I curse here?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. A fucking
Absolutely.
sanctuary because when she is well loved at home, she remembers her magic and she gets to make an impact and make a difference in the world from her overflow instead of from survival.
I love
And
that.
yeah, and I did not think that this is what I would be doing. this is my this is my second career. Like, I was in corporate, I was in finance before, but my marriage, we hit a place where we were on the brink of divorce.
Mm.
There was a point when my husband and I, we were foster parents uh, about 6 years ago. And I remember that there was a moment or there was an evening where we were sitting down to have dinner together. It was me, my husband, our 6 year old, and our 3 year old at the time, sitting around the dinner table. My 6 year old was between me and my husband. And something I can't remember like what it was, but Chris and I, my husband and I was upset at him for something.
Mm.
And I can't remember what it was, but it was something that was like it was like one of those here we go again, the same thing over and over. He's never going to change moments. And I was so upset that when my son and I, when we were at the dinner table and I was helping him with the homework, and my husband asked me a question, and I just straight up ignored him.
Mm.
I just straight up ignored him. My son looked at me. He looked up to the left at me. Then he looked up to the right at my husband. And then he looked up back up to me and he said, Mama, you shouldn't marry him.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. And those words, they haunted me for a while. But that night, I came upstairs, get ready for bed, and I looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, how did we get here?
Yeah.
Like, how did we get to a place where, even my son, even though like we tried our best not to have conflict in front of them, that
He picked it up.
he picked it up. And it's so apparent that like there's like we love each other, but we don't like each other.
Yeah.
Like how did we get here? And that was like what was one of like the starting points of me unraveling my relationship. Um, because I did reach a point where I wanted to divorce him. I did reach a point where I feel like, wow, my needs are like unmet. We're not communicating. We're having the same fights over and over again.
Mm.
And even being in the same room was hard. And that doesn't feel good.
Right, right,
Like my marriage, what happened? Like my marriage didn't feel like a safe place. It felt like a place where I was constantly walking on eggshells and
right.
bracing.
And I feel like
And
everything you just described, other women who are listening to this can relate. Like we all, unfortunately, like we do get to that point in multiple relationships, even friendships, that you're just like, if do I say the wrong thing? Or I'm afraid to speak because I don't want it to turn into a fight. Or, so it just kind of becomes it's easier to just like say hi and bye, maybe, than
mm-hmm,
to communicate or just talk logistics.
right. And then you ask yourself, like, why am I even here?
Right,
What is this? Right? Like, are we just roommates?
right.
Or or are we, husband and wife? And then also that begs the question, what does it even mean to be lovers? What does it
Yeah,
mean to still have that like that that connection, emotional intimacy, especially as you get older, when you have had so many years, decades of having the same patterns
yeah,
over and
yeah.
over again. And to your
And
question, go ahead.
so then think back to like, you had the self-awareness to be like, holy crap, like my kid sees this. Like, so like something's going on. Imagine if your kid didn't say anything to you. Like, how long do you think, other people or yourself included would have gone on and been like, not like seeing the like, repeatable patterns that just pop
Yeah.
up and
And like
pop up
not
and
being
pop up.
awakened to it, right?
Yes, like no one grabbed you by like your son grabbed you by your shoulders and said, Julie.
Yeah. Yeah. And then also like to your question on, like why do marriages why are there so many great divorces? I think that people have to get to that moment, that awakening moment.
Yes.
There has to be a come to Jesus moment.
Hmm.
Like is this the future I want?
Yeah.
And you have to answer that question honestly because you have three choices.
Mm.
One is to stay and suffer. Two is to leave and start over. Or three is to stay and work things out,
Yeah.
right? And research has shown that the people who stay, when they reach this breaking point and they stay and they get support and they actually
Mm.
change their pattern, they get to a place where their marriage is even better than the honeymoon
Yeah.
stage. And that's what I experienced.
Yeah. And so, you're in your room, you're giving yourself that hard conversation that, most of us don't ever have with ourselves. You know, did you initially reach out to help or did you talk to your husband? Like what was like that? Like, okay, I
Mm,
had this aha, like what was your kind of
yeah.
next move?
Yeah. I would say, during that period of time, things were kind of all happening at the same time. So it wasn't like a sequential move, but I do remember, wanting things to change. And in our relationship, I'm the grower. Like I'm the one that always wants to do personal development.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
I want to learn more about myself. I want to fix our communication and stuff. And my husband, that's not the way he's wired. He's
Yeah.
more resistant to that. And so it was so asking him to do the work with me was like pulling teeth.
Yeah.
It was a no. And that was a really difficult part in our relationship too, that I'm sure so many women can relate to. How if you are wanting to move forward, but he's still kind of stuck, then you kind of feel like he's dragging you down and dragging down
Yeah.
your relationship and your family and stuff. Um, however, those were the raw materials that we had.
Mm.
Like that was it, right? And if I had to make a decision, I had to make a decision on what I wanted to do. And I was confronted with this decision when I had a coaching call with my coach at that time. And she wasn't a marriage coach. it had nothing to do with relationships. She was like a self-love coach. She's
Mm,
amazing. Her name is Inuin. And, I remember hopping on the Zoom call with her, and my body was like slumped. My energy was so gray and so low. And she said, "Hey, what's going on?" And I said, like, "I can't do this anymore. I can't stay because I'm miserable, but I can't leave because of the kids." And she said to me, she like called me out. She straight up
yeah,
said to me, "Hey, like, you are acting like you don't have a choice,
right.
but you do have a choice. No one is holding a gun to your head.
Mm,
You just don't like the consequences of either choices."
right.
And that was a one of those moments that, like, it was a mic drop moment
Yeah,
where it was just like time stood still. And I was like, whoa, she's so right. She's so right. Like, I'm here wanting to love myself more. But as
right.
part of that, I actually have to grow up and take
Hmm.
responsibility for my choices. I have to take responsibility for the consequences of my choices, the benefits of my choices. I have to take responsibility for it all, right? Because it's my life.
It's funny because, I think more people need to have that coach because just like you said, like you, when you're in that situation, it's very easy to be like, it's my partner's fault. They suck. Like I want to do the work and they're over there just living their best life and nothing I can do. And it's very easy to go into victim mode
Mm-hmm.
and blame mode.
Right, right. But I believe that we're all here to transcend that. We're all
Right.
here to experience ourselves as conscious creators of our life, to experience the abundance of life. And but it doesn't come for free. It comes
No.
through work
Yeah.
and
And some of it
awakening.
is like looking at your own shit and
Oh yeah. And
realizing
it be stinking sometimes, you know?
right, realizing you are not, the Wonder Woman you think you are.
Oh, for sure. Oh my God. I thought I was the shit. I thought
Exactly.
I
And you're
was the
like,
shit.
oh, I am a shit. Okay,
Oh,
good to
yeah.
know.
Yeah. And it took time, but that was the moment where I really had to ask myself, okay, like, what am I choosing here? Because no one is putting a gun to my head. Am I choosing to stay or go?
Mm,
And something in my heart told me to stay. So I stayed. And that was the moment where I said, okay, I'm going to I'm going to show up as the best me possible in this relationship. I'm going to take responsibility, 100% responsibility for my side of the street. I didn't know how,
yeah,
but that was the heart of where I was. And let's see what happens.
yeah.
And that's when everything changed.
And the thing that I wanted to ask you is that, you kind of had this like quiet moment to yourself. You said, okay, this has things have to change. And before your son raised that kind of like attention to what was going on, did you ever feel like there was any disconnect with your husband at all?
Oh, of course. Oh, of course. I knew that. I was very aware of that because there was a lot of, um, when you have the same arguments over and over
Yeah,
again,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know, and you've asked them to change,
Mm,
and then they said they would, and maybe they do for a week, but then it reverts back. And by the way, my husband had his own version of that for me.
oh yeah, I mean,
But
I always tell people like it's never one-sided. It might
yeah,
be one-sided that the person finally said uncle, but it's
right.
never one-sided that like you don't have your shit and they don't have theirs.
Yeah, yeah. But at the time, I thought it was all him.
Oh, of course. I mean, if we're keeping score, I'm winning clearly, but
Yeah. So I knew, I would say, I knew, but it wasn't intolerable
yeah,
until we
yeah,
had kids, until our foster kids came.
yeah.
Right. And and I know, like, every parent out there can relate.
Mm,
And then especially when you layer in complicated dynamics of foster care and children with special needs,
Yeah.
that becomes, that makes everything more urgent and
Yes.
intense.
Yeah. And it's tough because it's like, you're I think when it comes to parenting, we all kind of like wish the other person could hop in certain aspects, yet we might not say how.
And that's the other piece of it. And this is what I teach my clients. That's a big piece of what I teach my clients. The learning to express how is our responsibility.
Yeah.
And it's not even like about a script or saying the right words. It is this energy of like of of team consciousness, of us
Yes.
consciousness that leads first. And then it's skill. It is learning how to express yourself, how to say it in a way that invites him into the conversation
Yeah.
instead of making him feel blamed, which will make him just like shut down
Yeah.
and avoid the conversation, or it leading to escalating to a fight. That's
Yeah.
skill.
Yeah, it's total skill because I feel that on both sides that you want your partner to do something and maybe you've asked and maybe you think you've clearly articulated what it is that you want that person to do, and in your mind you're like, I told you the color's red, and in their mind you said reddish and they're like giving you reddish and they're like, why isn't this good enough, versus you clearly saying, this is what red looks like and this is what I want.
Yeah, and then there's also like more, it's that, and it's even beyond clarity too, because when you're not emotionally connected,
Yeah.
just saying like this is what I want, this is red, they're going to disagree with you.
Yeah.
You're like that is orange. And
Right.
then you get into a debate and you like lose, and then you think like, well, the other person can't see straight.
Or why do we even need red? Like
Right, right. So then it becomes a separation between the two of you instead of being like
something
a
that bonds
team,
you. Yeah.
being like a team, being like an us, like a togetherness. And that's where we start to like effectively do like an audit with ourselves,
Yeah.
right? Like do like an audit, do like a reflection check on where is our heart in our marriage right now,
Mm,
right? Because a lot of times like we like the idea of love, we love the idea of love, but it's difficult to access it and to feel it when we have been so accustomed to building walls around our hearts,
yeah.
when we've
Yeah.
tried to communicate something clearly and they don't hear us, and then we feel like they don't get us, they're not on our team.
Yeah. There was I can't remember. So one of my old clients when I was a personal trainer, he was a marriage and family therapist. And he primarily became one because he was multiple divorces. And finally realized he's like, to quote Taylor Swift, I'm the problem, it's me. And he finally realized it. And one of the things so now he really focused on like people with young children. And he said to them that the two of you, before your child is born or you're adopted, whatever you're doing, you have to realize that you're the team. And that as much as you love your children, you're going to have these out of body experiences about your children and all the things, you guys are the team because they don't know anything. And if the team breaks, so does, everything. So does everything. So it's kind of like,
Mm-hmm.
if what, I live in Boston and we just lost one of our biggest players. So like Jaylen Brown's gone and everyone's like, what's the team going to do? So it's kind of like if the team doesn't stick together, then the whole, unit is kind of like, what do we do? And
Mm-hmm.
so, I'm thinking that's probably kind of one of the common thoughts you had. You're like, all right, I am going to figure this out because we have kids. And so like, it's easy to be like, yep, I'm out and just lock the
Yeah.
door and walk away. But then at the same time, you're like, I have to look at the whole unit and it's worth taking that second look.
Yeah, and that also like it also invites so many deeper questions in that too. Like I remember when we were doing RV life. This was a few years ago during the pandemic, and I had started a you know I had started a YouTube channel. This was going
Mm.
to be my career to
Your
document our
journey.
adventures and our
Yeah.
journeys and RV life. And I said to my husband when we were in Florida, actually in Ocala, Florida, I said, "Hey, babe, I just found this incredible place for us to go kayaking at Crystal River, and the kayaks are clear, and you can see manatees well swimming underneath while you're kayaking. Can you take the day off? And can we go here on Thursday? And I need to record content and everything." And he was like, "Yeah, sure. Like let's do that." The day comes. The day comes. I wake up in the morning. I start to make my coffee, and I hear like stomping around the RV. Like the RV is like shaking. And I'm like, oh no, he woke up on the wrong side of the bed. Like, what
Right.
is going on? And he's on the phone calls, he's text messaging, and he's working, right? He's working, he's agitated at me because we have this thing scheduled.
Right.
And I'm like, well, like it's already planned. Like we're not doing this, right?
Right. Right.
So we go into the car and we drive there, but I'm bracing because I'm like, oh my God, here we go again. Another day we're supposed to have fun together.
Right.
And now it's being spoiled because he's in a bad mood. So when we get there, like I try to do my best to be like, hey, like, isn't the weather great? We're gonna have such an amazing day. But he wouldn't have any of it. So
Yeah.
then we get there and then we get into the kayak and I get to a point where I'm so upset because this is like a thing that happens all the time.
Yeah.
And now I don't feel supported in my business,
Yeah.
right? So I don't trust you to show up for me.
Yeah.
So we go into the kayak and he's like, "Are you want to take a picture?" I'm like, "Don't even look at me."
Right.
It's like that, right? And for the whole time, like it was like we were on the same kayak, but it felt like hell.
Oh,
You never had one of those moments with your
right.
partner?
We were like, I'm going trying to going forward. He's trying to go back, and then we're just like this.
Yeah. I mean, it was just, but for us, it was more like a silent hell.
Yes.
Yeah,
And it was just kind of like I didn't sign up for a silent meditation today.
I know. But the thing I realized about like that was a very pivotal moment for us because after we left, we had lunch together and we wanted to talk about what happened.
Yeah.
And somewhere, I mean, this was like a 4 hour conversation. And somewhere along the line and during that lunch, something like it was like a whisper from God, maybe.
Mm.
Because when I looked at him, I had this realization as he was sitting there right in front of me. I was like, oh, I'm asking him to be present with me. I'm asking him to like relax and have fun. But he can't do that.
Yeah.
He actually doesn't have the capacity to do that. And I started thinking about his childhood and how he was raised. And he was raised in a great family with good parents, but there was something wired in him where he felt like he needed to be there for everyone.
Yeah.
And if he's not, then his nervous system would just attack him,
Yeah.
like he would be in fight or flight if he wasn't there for people. And that's why he had to be on his phone. That's why he was, text messaging and like putting out fires while he took the day off.
Right.
And so it occurred to me that it's insanity for me to be upset at him for something that he can't even control.
Right.
And then I started like visualizing his inner his like himself when he was 5 years old, like imagining
Right.
like what his childhood was like. And it just like opened and it just opened my heart and it just warmed my heart because I realized that like he didn't have the childhood that um that I wish that he had in like
Yeah.
in certain ways. He didn't get to be a kid,
Right.
right?
Right.
And so I made it my mission that day to bring out that part of him, to make it
Yeah.
safe for him to play and to bring out
Right.
his inner child. And going back to like what we were talking about before, about hey, we're a team, right? Like to me, that is being a team,
Yeah.
right? Like you are nurturing, I'm creating. So I'm not going to be responsible for his healing. but I'm going to
Right.
create the best environment for his inner child to come out and play.
Right. Or just know, kind of, it's like, I don't know how I want this to come up, but I don't want it to seem like, so I'm just gonna say it. I feel kind of knowing what your partner, like brings your partner joy and what kind of like sets them off. And so that you kind of, you create this like environment where like, you know, hindsight being 2020, it's like, all right, I know he's going to panic the day that he's supposed to take the day off. So I know I'm going to panic. So I'm like, I'm just going to be like, hey, like, make it so that he feels comfortable that it's okay that he's gone for 2 hours, 3 hours, however long it is, and that the world isn't going to, blow up because he's not connected to the phone or the computer or what have you.
Yeah. 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 That's a big piece of it too. It's like creating that environment. If you already know that there are certain things about your partner, certain things like even now, right? Like my husband, I don't, I would imagine most couples can relate to this, but we have like different values when it comes to the kitchen.
Yes.
He is, I want to hear what side of the fence you're on, Kim, but he's much more like particular about things being clean.
Yes.
And I'm much more like easygoing, you know what I mean? Like no one's gonna die. We can wash the dishes later, right? And but I know that for like, by the way, his office is a hot mess.
Yeah.
But for some reason, when it comes to the kitchen, there is something programmed inside of him that it needs to be pristine, right?
Yeah.
And so I, even though like that's not my vibe, I don't want to create extra stress for him. So I will go out of my way and I will do extra cleaning after myself, you know. And but I don't do this from a place of like trying to make sure he doesn't, have an issue. It's not that. I do it from love because I know that this is how it feels good for him to be taken care of.
Yeah. Yeah, no, my husband is very neat and orderly. And he says that I've been raised by wolves. Um,
Yeah, wild animal.
right- like I don't even think we had been dating a month, and we were going somewhere really early in the morning, and we got in the car and we got breakfast, and I got a bagel with sesame seeds on it. So I'm eating my bagel, and I see him kind of side-eyeing me, and I'm kind of like, "Oh, did you want a bite?" And he's like, no, but you're eating sesame bagel in the car. I'm like, and it's like they're getting everywhere. I literally had to eat over a bag. And so now for 30 something years, anytime I eat in the car, I literally eat over a bag so that I can avoid the side eye. So that's my compromise that
Hey,
I
that is an act of love.
yeah,
That is an
but
act of love.
yeah, so that's my like 30-year compromise. And I'm like, we laugh about it all the time because he was like totally he was trying to be cool, but he couldn't do it.
It's like, I know. So like sometimes when my husband and I get into situations like that, I'm like, hey, this is a kitchen, not a museum.
Yeah.
This is a
And he's like,
car, not an
right, and he
artifact.
probably tries to be cool, but like something in him was just like,
Right.
I
Well,
gotta get that pot out of the sink.
yeah. And okay, so now going back to the gray divorces, right?
Right.
I believe that it happens when in those moments, mm, people are not feeling understood
Yeah.
and not being feeling supported.
Yeah.
So like it could be the case that maybe there is a need, like maybe your husband has a need and you have been gritting your teeth to
Yes.
give that to him, but you don't really want to. But
Yeah.
you have been gritting your teeth and you feel all of this chaos on the inside, but you don't say anything. Or you try to, but it escalates into a fight because you just haven't learned how to say it in like a way where he could hear you yet.
Right,
Right.
right.
Um, or it's a matter of feeling like, he can't speak up for what he wants because
Yeah.
you'll shut it down. And I think that like at the essence of it, it's not that there's a lack of love. I think um it's a lack of understanding and skill.
Yeah, and your I'm gonna call it your signature framework, your signature method in really talks about what you said about your husband, where it's like, what, like kind of looking at what's truly going on underneath the surface, because it's never about I'm missing work. It's never about the pan in the sink. There's always some layer that the person might not even know that layer exists.
Mm-hmm.
They just know that, they're missing work. They don't, and it's bothering them and they don't really can't articulate the words for why it's bothering them. So like, what are some of the ways that you teach your clients about how we can kind of start to craft our navigation through this uh,
Yeah.
healing?
Um, I would start with something I call the beautiful boundaries blueprint. It's 3 steps. First step is I feel. The first sentence, the first thing you're going to start with is sharing how you feel.
Mm,
The second part is I see, which is you seeing his intention, seeing the good intention behind the behavior that you feel that right now is difficult, because there's always a positive intention. And then the third step is making the request. So, for example, let's talk about the sesame seed
yeah.
situation, right? And I know that you guys handle that well and everything, but let's say for example, hmm, let's say the roles were reversed, and for him, he was I don't know, eating. What would bother you? Like, what would bother you, whether it's in the car or elsewhere?
Uh, like, what the big thing that bothers me is slurping. Like like slurping makes me nuts.
Ah, okay, okay. So he's slurping, like eating soup, slurping
Slurping or like when you drink like coffee and it's like too hot, but you don't want to put
coffee.
it
Okay,
down.
okay.
Yeah.
So imagine like you guys are, at a restaurant with your friends and he's slurping away and you're just like, oh my God, right? So let's say, and it's like eating at you, you're like, after 30, 40 years, you're still, I don't even love you anymore.
Right, because of the slurping.
No, and then you think about all of these other reasons
Oh
why
God, yeah. The list. It's
the
like,
list, but it all started with the slurping. So then let's say, like you feeling all this, like this angst in your body. You go into the car and you want to bring it up to him. Let's say you say to him, "Can you just stop slurping? How many times I tell you to stop slurping?" Or you maybe you can even say it nicely. You say, "Hey, can you please stop slurping?" And either way, he gets upset, right? And then he goes like, "What about you?
yeah. And you can go tit for
What about
tat.
you? And the way
Yeah.
you crack your knuckles."
Yeah, yeah.
There's a better way. So it's the 3 steps that I just shared. The first step is I feel. Like men, I don't think most women understand that, like that when women speak from our hearts, when we share with them how we feel, it awakens them. It awakens them that, like, oh, I'm listening. I'm listening. Like, and it's not to say that like when you're vomiting how you feel and you make him wrong, that like he will listen. No. If you say it in a responsible way, when you slurp, I feel stressed, or I feel frustrated, right? He is listening.
Mm,
Okay. Because you're not making him wrong. You're saying when this happens, this evokes a feeling in me.
gotcha.
So he's listening and you're being authentic. Then the second part, which is not making him wrong for it, not making him a villain.
Yeah.
So making him a villain would sound like, I see that you never listened to me. I've asked you this a million times. I see that you don't care. That is villainizing him. So this step is for you to represent yourself into his highest intention. or validating him. Um, for example, I see that uh, you didn't mean to slurp. I see that you were really enjoying that coffee. I see that you love your coffee,
Yep.
and I love that for you. So you can feel the difference, right, between the
Yeah,
different
yeah.
energies. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then part three is you make a request. What is it that you want to see differently? So maybe that request is, would you please be more mindful of slurping? It would make me feel really happy. It would make me feel really comfortable and like proud. And that is that is how you express your needs and desires in a way that he can hear you and wants to support you.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And everything you said is reasonable, right? You're not asking, you're just saying how your approach versus like, oh my God, your slipper just makes me so goddamn crazy. Like, of course I'm gonna come back at you when you say it to me like that. But
Exactly.
if we create space from being in the moment and we just sit down and we I just talk to you about it, it now is a conversation, not a demand.
Yes. Not a make wrong, not like an indictment.
It's now
Mm-hmm.
a conversation. And one of the biggest things, my takeaways from the work that you do is that you're not saying you have to do all the work yourself, but you're also not like, if that person's not ready to have these deeper philosophical conversations, it's still allowing you to do the work and
It's, yeah,
pull in like pieces of the work versus you guys sitting down and like doing the work together if that's not where they are.
yeah, I would say my work is about evoking the best qualities.
Yeah,
You might be wanting him to be, I don't know, Iron Man, but
right.
maybe he's Captain America.
Right.
Right.
Or, sit, kind of what you said, like you're like, oh, let's do the personal development. And you're like, let's sit down and do the workbook tonight, after dinner. And they're like, yeah, no.
Right. Right. But that is most of the time I find that that men, your partner wants to make you happy.
Yeah.
That is like their purpose in life is to make you happy. And if he's not showing up that way, it's because there's something in your dynamic where he doesn't feel safe or inspired
Mm,
to show up that way.
yeah.
And the beauty of it is like it's all in your hands, right? Like you just haven't learned how to show up in a way that is authentic to you yet inspires him to rise at the same time. When he is inspired, you don't need him to go do the work, right?
Right.
He may just be he may just be inspired to do so because he sees the changes in you.
Yeah. Or it's also like what you said about like how I approach the sesame seeds or how you approach, the kitchen. Like, like it makes me know never mind about the kitchen, but you're like, you know what? It's something really simple for me to just wipe down the counter. Like it's the least
Right. And that inspires him. But if
right.
there's this energy about you that's like, keeping score, tit for tat,
Yes.
then of course that's not going to inspire him.
Yeah.
Of course he's going to shut down. But
Right.
when you do take that extra moment to wipe down the counter, you're telling him that you care
Yeah.
and he's in a safe environment.
And it's like, okay, or at least it's like you're taking one step. So if it's like, if all you got in you is to wipe down the counter, he'll take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and no one is saying like you need to be perfect.
Right. Or Julie, once you finish that counter, make sure you like scrub the floor. Like,
Yeah, yeah, no, it's not that. It's just like where is your intention?
yeah,
Where's your intention in this?
nice. No, I want to say like your whole approach makes it so that when you do have that like come to Jesus moment that I do want this to work, you're not asking me to recreate the wheel. You have your framework has meets me where I am, right? Where like, I could be at the point where like call the eternity, I'm out. But you're like, okay, if I decide that I want one more step, you're like, you give me like the baby steps to
Mm-hmm.
see if this is salvageable.
Yeah. I mean, I would say that the way that my brain works is I make things real simple.
Yeah.
I make things, I distill relationships down to like the most basic elements because I think that when we look around us and when we go on Instagram for pop psychology
Mm.
and stuff, you can get yourself into
Oh, yes.
a whole trip about your relationship and you can you hear like little snippets and 30 seconds is not enough time
No.
to to explore your relationship in any sort of nuance whatsoever and because relationships are nuanced and it can feel so if you're a person who's going through it and you're going through Instagram and seeing this person saying it's good to set boundaries, this person is saying no, you're just putting up walls, what the hell do you do? It can feel so complicated, right? And the work that I do is I demystify it all. I take
Yeah.
it down to the fundamental elements of your relationship so that it's simple, that anybody could understand what is the mechanics behind how to make relationships work.
Yeah. And that's I think
Or
why.
not mechanics, I'm sorry, I'm gonna use a different word. The building blocks of how to make relationships work.
And I think that's why I resonated with your work so much because, marriage is complicated. Like most people just think like, oh my God, we're married. And you're just like, that's when the real work begins. And that, we have so many other things going on in our life that me trying to save my marriage shouldn't feel like I'm studying for yet another exam.
um I will actually challenge that a little bit
Okay.
if that's okay with you.
Yeah, yeah. I love challenges. Bring it.
Yeah. So I make it accessible. And
Yep.
I never want anyone to feel like they're studying for an exam, but let's not be mistaken. It's work.
Oh God, yeah. No,
Yeah.
yes, it's absolute work, but it's not like um you're looking at this textbook that I have to read 400
Oh
pages
no,
before I
no.
get to the first like, you know, step I need to take.
Listen, some women love that.
I
And I'm
do.
like, and I'm like, but hold on. I'm like, no, honey, you better go and have that conversation with your husband.
Because by the time
You
you get to
better
page,
make a promise to me that you're going to have that conversation. Okay.
right? Because by the time you get to number 400, like one of y'all is gonna be out.
Right. Exactly. Because like this work does not just live in your mind. It's not a theory.
No,
It is it is
action.
only through action and only through practice that you can just feel the changes in your body and your nervous system and your sense of self.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because I feel like, and we were talking about this prior, like Julie's about to go on a big trip, and so many of us say someday, or you're waiting for the stars to align, you're waiting for like Venus to be in retrograde or whatever the hell it does before you take action. And a lot of it is just give it a shot, right? Like it's like have that awkward conversation and see what happens. And then you kind of like build from there. Or like, I had that conversation, it didn't go the way I wanted it to. And then you talk to Julie and she's like, okay, approach it from this direction or that direction. Or did you say it in the moment? Like, so that you can kind of
Yeah.
have that voice of reason. Because sometimes you think you did the right thing. And then Julie's like, well, if you could have just tweaked this thing a little bit, it might have gone a little bit better.
Yeah. And I'm glad you mentioned that because if somebody listening to this um decided to now muster the courage to have that hard conversation, but not have the wisdom yet to have it in a way that can create openness,
Yeah.
then you can go and have that conversation and get shut down again. And then you're going to make it mean that there's something wrong with you or your husband when
Yeah.
that's not the case at all. Just the gap is in being guided and learning the skill to navigate these conversations.
Yeah, and I think all of us, communication is not something that they teach us. Like we can
No.
all, conjugate a verb, but we never are taught how to have these awkward conversations.
Mm-hmm. And then I say this all the time that marriage, when you think about it, marriage and communication, they're two of the most complex
Mm,
dojos in since the dawn of time, since Adam and Eve.
yeah.
Okay.
And
So
yeah, agreed.
and 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 then when you like really think about it, they're so complex, and yet no one qualified ever taught us how to have a healthy marriage, how to
No,
move in a marriage, how to be in a marriage. No one taught us.
no.
No one taught us how to resolve conflict. No one taught us the communication. We kind of just picked it up along the way and we cobbled it together. We trying to just like figure it out along the way. So we
Right.
don't
And
know shit, right? We don't know shit.
we we don't know
But
shit. And especially, if you think about, the generation that we came in, like our parents didn't really model like,
yeah, yeah.
the
No, they did
idea.
they did the best that they could with the resources that they had.
Right.
But emotional intelligence? Like,
No.
no.
There was no talk of emotional intelligence until like the 90s. And then even then
Even that for me.
they were still trying to figure out like what emotional intelligence was, and they couldn't even trickle it down to children, like what emotional intelligence was. And
Yeah.
even now people are still like, I know the word, but I don't really know how it applies to me.
And that's the beauty of the culture and the time that we're in right now. I think it is like fertile for so much
Oh yeah.
expansion and raising of collective consciousness, and it's happening. It's already happening. And
It
so
is. And I also feel like, the conversations around like what it takes to be in a marriage are having,
yeah,
it's more than like you get married, you have kids. Like there's no like
right.
checklist about like what marriage looks like these days. Like, and I think most of us are more open about like it's not all rainbows and unicorns.
Yeah, and it makes me think about, about that question that I had asked at the beginning, like how did we get here? I
Yeah.
had to unpack, I had to unpack that. And I
Yeah.
write about this in my book as part of the BU brand anthology. I wrote a chapter in there along with five other incredible authors. My chapter is called Finding Your Way Back to Love.
Yeah.
And I had to unpack, how did I get here to this place?
Right.
And one of one there one thing I discovered many things, but there's one piece that I want to share about that. Um, as I was looking back into my childhood,
Mm.
I I grew up as in an immigrant family, so like we did not have much.
Yep.
I remember going to like I'm one of six kids. My oldest brother has cerebral palsy. At one point in time, my entire family of eight, we were sleeping on mattresses on the floor. I remember when I was in middle school and I went over to a friend's house. I walked up into the kitchen and she
You were
starts,
like blown away.
well, I'm like, wow, this house smells fresh. And then I walk into the kitchen. She makes herself a sandwich. She's like, do you want some? And I'm like, yeah, sure. So I take a bite of the sandwich and oh my God, this sandwich, it was Wonder Bread
Oh
with
yeah.
ham and Best Foods mayo. I had never had that before. It just melted in my mouth and it was like the best thing I had ever eaten because did
No, that
not
was
get
a
to eat this
luxury.
food, and
Yeah.
that's like name brand, right?
Yes. Oh
This
my
is
God,
not
name
store
brand.
brand,
Right.
right? And
Not
so
on sale.
yeah, and so I remember being young at that age, feeling like, you know what, when I get older, I'm gonna make so much money. I'm gonna have the freedom to buy anything I want, eat as many ham and mayo sandwiches, like with Wonder Bread as I want, right? Ain't nobody can hold me back. Like I'm gonna be rich.
Yeah.
And of course, there's like the feminist movement, like the independent woman, I don't need no man,
Right.
attitude and everything. I think that it led me that whole culture. got me to this place where I believe that what love is love is control,
Yeah.
right? Like, cause you watch all the rom-coms, like 10 Things I Hate About You, or what are the other ones? How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. It's
Yeah.
always
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
woman that's on top. She makes the money, and she's a career woman and she's on top. She has the power.
Right.
And I had to face the fact that I thought love was control. I thought love
Yeah.
meant that my husband was doing what I wanted him to do.
Yeah.
And then, after being on the other side of our healing journey, I realized that, oh, that's not love at all. That just came from my wound from being, young and poor, and from, watching rom-coms and, like, and absorbing what the culture teaches us. But what love really is unity between men and women.
Yeah. And you don't, even now in the rom-coms, you don't see that, it's always kind of like boy meets girl, and then it's like someone's job gets in the way and they break up, and then years later, they fall back in love. This and
Mm-hmm.
that's not life. And
Yeah, they got to make it spicy for
right,
TV.
right. That's why I watch. Like I tune in tomorrow. That's why I watch. And so this has been like really enlightening. And my hope is that anyone listening here is able to zoom out in their relationships and look at the conversations that they're having, and if there is this kind of friction, if they are at the point where you started the episode and you're really not talking, you'd rather be in a separate room or just kind of grunt at each other. Maybe the questions you have to ask yourself, the hard questions that Julie had to ask herself, and visit her work. Where can they find you, on the socials, website, all that magical stuff?
Yeah, Instagram is where it's at for me. And my Instagram handle is I am Julie Tran. And my website, you can go to gooeylove.co. Yeah,
Yeah.
gooeylove.co.
And I mean, just the thought of like gooey love, right? Like, just like you're like, wow, like that, like, it's kind of like that's the dream, right? To be able to just kind of like look at your partner in the same dreamy way that you did when you first, locked eyes. Although I'm like, I mean, maybe you were love at first sight. Like my husband just heckled me the first time I met him, so it really wasn't love at first sight. Or maybe that's my love language. I don't know. But look her up, because it's like these are worth conversations like having. Because I think of all of my friends who've gotten divorces, and maybe, and Julie can speak to this as an expert, but most of my friends who look back at divorce, other than some big cataclysmic thing, they look back and they're like, you know what, you some things we should have tried a little bit harder versus just like tapping out. And I'm sure some of the
Mm.
women work with you, come to you because like, you know what, I know I don't want to tap out, so that's why I'm ringing your doorbell.
Yeah, a lot of that, and a lot of that you're my last hope,
Yeah.
right? Like I've tried everything else and I'm putting all my eggs in one basket. And they end up going from I'm done to I have a crush on my husband again.
Yeah, and I want you to have that crush on your husband and look across the room and be like, yeah,
Yeah.
that guy's mine, and and actually want to claim him.
Yes. Every woman deserves that. Every
And
woman deserves that.
vice versa, like have your partner, look across the
Yes.
room and be like, I want to claim them as my partner. So
Mm-hmm.
we want that mutual, like, yeah, they're with me.
That, that.
Yeah. So thank you so much for being on the show. And you guys look her up. I know like long-term relationships, like it can get a little long in the tooth, especially, a time of life when your kids leave, right? And it's just the two of you. And like, what are you going to talk about, right? There's only about so much TV you can watch. So
Can I make an invitation?
sure,
I
absolutely.
want to invite your amazing audience members and community to also check out my book that's coming out.
Yes, yes, yes.
It's as I mentioned before, it's part of the BU brand and anthology. My chapter is called Finding Your Way Back to Love, and you are going to love every moment of reading that and see so much for yourself. So look forward to having you come on board.
Perfect. And like everything is going to be in the show notes. So her website, the link to the book, all of that magical stuff. And again, look her up, follow her, and just kind of, be open because, we all could use a little more communication skill because I know sometimes that can be a little shrilly. So thank you so much for being on the show. And Magic Makers, if you love this, please share this out with someone, and I will talk to you guys next week.
Bye. Thank you.